make a life while busy making a career. I choose this topic because I feel it is important, especially for women in engineering. There's a lot of things on our plate. So let me introduce myself a little bit first so you know who I am. So let's talk about my career. So I got all my degree, undergrad, master, and PhD degree from Hong Kong. And at that time, I was doing work on photonic signal processing. At that time, I also travel a lot. I appreciate the opportunity that my PhD advisor gave me, that I can travel to a lot of conferences. I can see the world. I like traveling. And I also got opportunity to be the visiting scholar of 2 different universities, which I know this is something I like to do. I like to be at the research lab and do research. And at that time, I'm not sure how many of you are grad student right now. So I treat every presentation as an opportunity to show off myself, show off not just about research, but also I can present something. And especially at that time during conferences, actually there are not that many female students presenting. So I would treat that as a way to like show off that, okay, I'm a female in engineering and I can do good work with the help of my advisors. So, and I also applied travel grants and meet a lot of people who are at more mature state of the career, because you just need to like tag along with your professor and help him to introduce to different people, because knowing different people, not just like potential help you in the career, but also you feel like you belong to the community, which I actually find is very important. And also, if you are currently a graduate student, enjoy being a graduate student. I would say that is the best time, because there's no pressure about applying for grants, no pressure about, oh, I have to supervise a student and they're not listening and things like that. So I really enjoy my time as a graduate student, because you're learning and you know you are improving. You know that you're going to get a degree, and you know things are going to get better and better. So that is, I spent for 5 years, 2 years as a master's, 3 as a PhD. And then after 5 years, I joined Princeton as a postdoc. I'm putting my little picture on the left to show you how I look like when I was a student. I thought that would be interesting to see. As a postdoc, I switched my research a little bit, but it is still related to photonic signal processing. So we use photonic signal processing to do network security. And we also look into a really, really new area at that time, which is neuromorphic photonics, which if you go to conferences right now, you can see a lot of work has been done in this area. But at that time, I believe we were the first group who looked into that. And it was really, really funny is that we submit our first paper, and the reviewer, like the editor, couldn't find anyone to review our paper, because it's just different. And that is probably, I see the most reviewer on the list. I think we have like 11 reviewers. And finally, there are 2 people who are willing to review it. So it was interesting, but it's fun to start a new area. And during my postdoc years, I also learned a lot of things. I learned how to mentor graduate students. And I also learned how to present a project, like make it interesting, because my postdoc advisor is a really good presenter. And it's just how to make it fun, make it easier for your audience to understand. And I know when you go through the postdoc phase, I'm not sure how many of you are postdoc right now. Some people say, oh, let's do 2-year postdoc and go out and find faculty position. But I would say there's no rush, really. You want yourself to be prepared. You want yourself to be prepared under a nice umbrella, so that you'll be ready to set up your own lab. And at that time, I'm not sure how do you feel, but for me, when I got offer for a faculty position, I kind of panicked and said, oh my gosh, I need to have my own lab right now. And I feel like I am in a nice warm fish tank, a little fish in the fish tank, and I have to go out into the ocean. There are sharks, there's a wave everywhere. So you do that when you feel comfortable to do. So there's no rush through your postdoc. Try to learn as much as possible. And then after about 4 or 5 years of postdoc, I joined UJ as an assistant professor. And again, I switched my research a little bit. So I focus on microphotonics and bio-inspired photonics, which again, I have been using what I learned since I was a grad student, photonic signal processing techniques, but in a slightly different application in the area of how to process microwave signal, and also combine something that I feel like is quite interesting is the nature. I like to learn about how the fish, how plants do their stuff, and try to see if optics can do something similar. So this is when I was an assistant professor. And after 5 years, I promoted to associate professor. And you can see I'm still working on bio-inspired photonics, but after many years of working on things that are similar, I kind of get bored. So I know that in order to keep me going, I need to look at something different and something that I have interest. So that's how we start the soft robotic projects. It's hard because it's totally different from what we did before. So the animation on the right up corner is a soft robotic climber that mimic an inchworm. So we built that in the lab, and I think it's fun. I mean, I haven't get any funding on that in this area yet because it's a new project, but I enjoy doing it a lot. So that's how I get out of that cycle, which I feel like I'm doing things over and over for like 5, 10, 15, 20 years. When I was making this slide, I was like, oh my gosh, 5 years here and there, and it's been the 5th year as my associate professor. So it's a lot of years, it's many years. So it's important to find something that you have interest and take a risk and see where that takes you. So that's a brief introduction about my career. I don't want you to bore you with all the details because that's not the focus of this talk. We are talking about life-work balance, right? We always see people talk about life-work balance, but somehow I got irritated when I look at the word life-work balance, because to me, it's never balanced. And I don't plan to make it to be balanced. Some people feel like life-work balance is like the picture on the left. You are really calm in the middle. You can do all your work nicely, and at the same time, you can have fun with your family. You have do sports that you like. You have a hobby, and you're eating healthy. You're exercising. You're super healthy. I can't do that. Like honestly, I cannot do things like that. And some people are more on the right. You cannot just do work and you cannot just have life, but there's a area which the two are overlapping. And to me, I do not feel like I want them to overlap like that. So to me, it's like interleaving the two. So these two they are not the model that I want. There's not the life-work balance that I feel like will work for me. So again, everybody is different. So maybe you feel like, hey, maybe what you're talking, that's exactly what I want, which is totally fine. But I just want to share that this doesn't look like something that I can achieve, or is this not something that I feel like to do it in this way. So to me, life-work balance is more like these two figures. It's never balanced, okay? And that balance is going to move left and right all the time. But most of the time, we are drawn to work, no matter how much you want life-work balance or not. So very often we're trained to study, right? We are trained to work hard, to get a good job. But we always, no matter how much you want to go for life, you will drawn to work. Why is that? There are deadlines for work, right? You got fired if you don't do well for your job. There are evaluation. You need to get funding. You need to get all the teaching done. You have to supervise students. You have to get papers done. So we are just drawn to work because of that. But to me, work-life balance is always go between the left and right. We are struggling with work, but can we find ways to try to work towards life? Okay. When we are struggling with work, sometimes we actually have to walk towards work and see if we can finish something so that we can go back to life, the life part. And for me, there are times which I feel burnout. Of course, there's a lot of work and there's family and there's lots of things going on. But I think the most important thing is we realize that. So we know that, okay, I do not feel good about the whole situation. When you're in the burnout, how you get out of it. And when you get out of it, prepare that you'll get back to it at a certain point. But the most important thing, you need to get out of that period once in a while. So I can take one example is that it has been many years I haven't take a real break. That means ignore all my students, ignore my graduate students, don't work on email at all. So a few months ago, I did feel that I get really exhausted about work. And I was graduating one of my PhD student, and I feel like, okay, I graduate student, maybe I actually deserve a break. So after he defends, I told the whole lab that I'm going to take a 1 week break for myself. Do not ask me where I'm going, because I want to disconnect me with them. I don't even want them to know what I'm doing or where I'm going. And I asked them, if there's no emergency, do not message me, do not email me. And I did take a week off. And if I tell you I didn't check email, that would be a lie. How could I not check email? But what I did is that I did check email, but I just delete all the junk emails. And I just go through, okay, nothing emergency. And I'll just, for real, leave it until I'm back from that week of break. And of course, sometimes people do not respect your desire of taking a break. And of course, I do have a student message me and say that, oh, I only need you to help me look at this. It's just take you 5 minutes. And I look at that and say, no, that's not emergency. I told you I'm taking a break. So no, I'm not going to talk with you until I'm back. So you need to set a boundary. If you plan to actually take times off for yourself, even just 1 day, cut everything off. Like for me, I feel like if I don't tell anyone what I'm doing, I feel really good about that. I feel like I'm taking a real break. So even just 1 day, or if you can afford that 1 week. And of course, when you come back from work, oh my gosh, it is a disaster, okay? So that's a lot of work piled up, but I'm happy to go back and keep going because I feel like I earned a break, and now I'm ready to go. So this model is more like what I feel about life and work. It's never balanced. We always want to drawn to work, but it's important to get out of it once in a while so that you feel refreshing and feel happy about your life. So after we look at my career, the boring part, so let's look at my family, okay? So I still keep my projects here and my years of different stage because I feel like they're actually integrated. They interlive with each other. They don't really overlap, but they integrate each other. So when I was postdoc, I met my husband and we got married pretty soon because we feel like, well, that's right. I don't feel anything wrong about it. So let's get married. And I have my first kid before I finished postdoc. So literally is maybe about a little bit more than a year before I joined UJ as an assistant professor. So getting married is not life-changing, but having a kid, oh my gosh. When I have my kid, I feel like my life was upside down. For real, I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm still surviving here. I'm still alive. So it is upside down because you have a human being that require full-time attention. Unlike when you're at grad school or when you're postdoc, if I want to work, for real, I can work 8-10 hours, and including the weekend, I can get a lot of work done. I can be always ahead of the schedule. But once you have that little human being, it's different, and maybe the hormone and things like that. So I feel like, oh my gosh, it's different. I'm not me anymore. I feel very different at that time. And I literally, when I was looking for faculty position, you need to write the research proposal, research plan, and do a CV. I was holding my baby. She was about 6 months old at that time, holding her, and I was typing on my rocking chair with one of my hands and get things done like that. It was very different. And when your first kid, you are so worried about everything. When they fail, you say all the grown up will go to the kid and say, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Or if there's any fever, the mom and dad will be panicking. So it's very different. But my husband is very supportive, so he also take a lot of responsibility taking care of the kid, and he do also dishes. So what can I complain about that? So eventually, I land on faculty position. So I didn't mean to show you a second kid at that point. So I landed on a faculty position. At that time, my kid was 1.5 years old at that time. So starting a lab is fun. Okay, it was slow because we do experiments, so we need to get equipment. So for the first year, I do not have any students, and I applied grants and stuff like that. So it was a really good experience to go through that process. And but at the same time, we're thinking, okay, we have my first kid, so how about a second one? Because we both, me and my husband, always know that we want more than one. Because having one kid is like boring. I have siblings, so I feel like it's nice to have two kids that can play together. So I have my second kid when I was I think when I start my second year as an assistant professor. So probably the first year, I got pregnant and have a baby. And my first PhD student actually came about the time 2 months before I have my kid. So I was 8 months pregnant at the time. And when he saw me, he was like, oh my gosh, because we just like video talk, he never see me with a big belly. So he just said, oh, wow, you are expecting. I said, yeah, I'm expecting. So things work out. And one of the reasons why we picked that, like most of the people will feel like, oh, I didn't even get my tenure. Let's wait until I get my tenure. But I didn't wait. One of the reasons is I want the two kids to have a closer age gap. And second reason is that I know I can spend more time on the family at the first like 1 or 2 years during my assistant professor period. And I can rush afterwards, okay, when the kids are a little bit bigger. So, and I do not feel like it's a bad timing to do it. I feel like it's okay. It's not the best timing. It's never the best timing, but I don't see it's a bad timing at all. So that's why I have a second. And I actually go up for tenure and promotion a year earlier than usual, and it works out fine. So and when I kind of know I will get my tenure, and we're thinking about are we done with kids or not. So we feel like it's feeling not complete. If we want a kid, maybe it's a good time to have a third one. So actually I have a third kid who was born right when I officially got my tenure and promotion. So once I know that I'm going to get my tenure, because it takes about 1.5 years, I have my third kid. So this is about my family. It has been going from pretty chaos, my life upside down, into state which I adapt to it. Life-changing events, no matter if you got a new job or if you have a new family member, any life-changing event, we need to adapt. So I think that's how I find some sort of balance between family and work. Is you just have to change your working modality. Instead of being like a grad student and a postdoc, you have 10 hours a day, 7 days a week to work on something. Right now, we may work between chunks of time and be prepared that your kid will be sick and you'll have to be at home, let's say, for a few days with them because they cannot go to daycare. So have to be adaptive. And about my life, so the whole presentation about getting a life while working towards your career. So when I was in grad school, my life is about traveling. I love traveling a lot. I like taking pictures everywhere. And you can see from grad school to all the way to here, there's nothing about my life. I have not been always doing really well in like getting a life while you're working on towards your career. But I think I learned, and I think I am trying over time, and I realized that how important it is. So once I've got my postdoc and get my family life together, taking care of the kids, I didn't know until like a few years ago, really. So there's like a few years here that is really just work and life. But I don't feel bad at all at that time. I feel like that's nice. I have my kids and my career is growing, and I'm trying my best to do whatever I need to keep it going. And I feel good about it. And I guess maybe you can see this 15 years from here to making to associate, and being associate professor, I'm on my 5th years. So it's like 15, 20 years. And over the last few years, I've realized that I need more than that. I need more than that to make me happy, to make me feel alive and keep going for another 10 or 20 or 30 years whenever I want to retire. So, so I tried to think about what do I like. Since I was a kid, I like crafting. I've never good with that. So even I have my 3rd baby, shortly after that, actually, I start to get back into crafting, doing something I like, and I feel good. I may not be able to do it every day, but maybe at night, instead of going to sleep, I spend half an hour to do something I like. I feel so happy instead of just go to bed. I'm super tired, but doing that 30 minutes of things that I like really make a big difference. And that lasts for about another three years or so. And over the last years, I guess, especially after the pandemic, everybody is exhausted. So during the pandemic, my kids are home. 3 of them are home, and I've been teaching them elementary school stuff. And this little one is about 3 years or 3 years old at that time. So she was crawling at my back while I was teaching the 2. And at the same time, we have to do virtual for the college students for teaching and research at night. So after those 2 years, I'm really exhausted and can definitely say it's absolutely burnt out. So, so I need to find myself back. So I was thinking, what can I do? I get so busy at work. One other thing is I don't have time. No matter how I think, I feel like I do not have time. And I guess that's probably most of the feeling you all may feel about is I don't have time to do anything else other than work, and maybe with the full-time job as work and the full-time job as a mom or dad, I do not have any time to do it, to anything else for myself. But it is really unhealthy. So I was thinking about it, and I just need to do something. So I know I like music. I learned a couple of musical instruments when I was a kid. So I think, oh, maybe I can do that, but how can I find time and make sure that I am doing it? So if you ask me to do sports, I'm sure a lot of you like sport. I will quit in a week. I cannot, like, it's not sustainable for me. So I know that if I find a teacher, if I pay for the class, I'm going to do it, because you pay for something, you got to do it. And I know I'm a good student. So if I have teacher, I know that I will practice, because I need to show the teacher that I am a good student. So that's how I start to learn another musical instrument about 9 months ago again. I think, yeah, about 9 months ago. And actually that makes me really happy. It's really happy. I'm happy to go back to work, and I'm happy to deal with any trouble at work, and doing all the admin duty at work, as long as I can practice for like even just 15 minutes every day. And that's my time. I told my kids that don't bother me while I'm practicing. So yeah, so just need to find a way that you will find your passion. And I put some little animals here. Is that recently I got into I like crafting, so I cannot craft everything for myself. So I try to make some craft so that animal rescue can sell them to earn money. So that makes me happy too. I like animals, but I cannot volunteer to take care of the animal. But I know that if I do something like that, I will be happy, and I'm helping people too. So I guess you need a motivation to motivate you to get out of it. So that's the sharing part that I have. But I want to end it with a couple of points. After discussing my experience, I want to talk about a couple of things that along the way, how I can make all those decisions. So the first thing is you have to aware and believe that, and really, really believe that everybody is different. What does that mean? Everybody is different. That means do not compare with yourself with other people. There are times which I see some researcher of my same stage, you can say, maybe was about within a few years of grad school graduation, and they do great. They are like a fellow right now. They are full professor right now. They are like getting whatever award already, but everybody is different. The things I want and they want are different. The things that my situation and their situation are different. So if in my own situation, I'm doing the best I can, I feel totally fine with other people like excel much faster than me in terms of career because I'm different. They are different. So if you compare yourself with other people, that will make you really sad because there's so many genius out there. And some people may have more time. Some people may not have kids. Some people are just better at doing their job. And take the COVID situation as an example. Like for our family, we're on the cautious side. So really, those 2 years, my career has much slower than it should be because I have 3 kids at home that I stay with them the whole time. But there some people will be maybe more relaxing against this towards this situation. So they may actually have more time because they don't have to go into the office to do their work. So everybody is different. So just make sure you know that and do not complain, do not compare yourself with other people. The second thing is bright side and struggle. I put the moon here because do you know that when we look at the moon, we always see just one side of it. And when we look at other people's success, or when you look at Facebook or Twitter, you see that, oh, wow, everybody is doing so great. They're publishing papers. Wow, they just got a promotion. Wow, look at them. Their kids are so cute and always well-behaving. But we never see their struggles because no one is going to post a struggle in the internet. No one is going to announce their struggle. So when we look at how good people are, but we always forgot what's their struggle. And don't let them to think any less of yourself because we are as good as anybody else or even better. But it's just that we know how struggle we are. We know what is the weakness we have. So sometimes when we look at other people, they're so shiny, all the glory, all the bright side. So the third thing is adapt to changes. Like, for example, when I have my first kid, I didn't prepare for the change. So that's why I was pretty struggle at that time. So be adapt to change the way you work, change how you work, like like how do you do your research. And also sometimes we may have to change our mindset to help you to adapt. So I used to be a mom that take care of everything. Like I'll feel so mad and start cleaning up the house. But later on, I feel like why I'm the only one who is so mad about not having a clean house. So I start to get really lazy and I don't clean it up anymore. And just say, hey, you should clean up instead. And that makes me much happier. So adapt to the change, adapt to those kind of things. And here, the reason I show this cartoon is that let's say it's flooding. Okay, flooding is like so many work. And each of these 3 persons is giving an umbrella. How you use this umbrella? Are you going to soak yourself, half of your body is in the water and use your umbrella to just cover the rain? Or are you going to be the person who adapt to the situation? Or an umbrella can actually become a boat that help me flow and I'll just get a little bit wet because of the rain. So adapt to it, adapt to the change and use what tools, what environment you have to make yourself feel good, be happy about that. The fourth thing is family first. The why I put it here for career-wise, the development is your family is the one who will love you no matter if you got funding or not. Your family is the one that's going to tell you you're awesome, even though you got your paper rejected, okay? And they'll be always there for you. And nobody is going to regret, oh, I didn't write another proposal, but you probably will regret, oh, I didn't spend time with my family. So family first is very important. They're part of your life. And in terms of making a life, portion of it, find your passion. I do not know how to illustrate passion, so I put a passion fruit here. Find your passion, no matter if it is sports. And I said that I cannot do sports, I'll quit. So I'm not very healthy. So I don't do much sport or exercise. Or if it is traveling, or if it is art, or what example, or maybe, yeah, everybody is different. Like for me, I like to do music and crafting. So you need to find your passion. Your passion when you're a kid, when you have lots of time, it could be different from what you have or what you can do right now. My passion is that I like to travel, but I can't do it now. So maybe I'll think about something else that has a little bit more chance that I'll be able to do it. Then make sure you know that there's no best timing. Do not wait until the best timing to do something because you're never able to do it. Sometimes I would tell myself, oh, I'm too busy, I really cannot do it. yeah, that's not the best timing to do something that I want. I still have a proposal to write. I still, like, the kids are still going to school. I have to take them to soccer and things like that. But if it is not a bad timing, do it. It's easy to know if it is a bad timing because we are grown up already, right? If it's a bad timing, definitely don't do it, right? But if you still feel like, well, it's not a bad timing, should I try? Then I would say, do it. Otherwise, you will never find another time to do it. And next is, what does it take? So I find my passion. I know that it's not a bad timing, but it still doesn't work. Why? What does it take for you to be able to do something for yourself? So for me, it takes me to go to class, to have a teacher, to spend money on a class in order to do that. For me to actually leave work, leave my family, and go to learn something. So that's what does it take for me. Some people maybe you need a friend. Then go find a friend. Hey, let's go hit the gym together. You won't just ditch him and her and not showing up, right? Some people may just need to put it in their schedule. You block the time. That's my time. That's the time that, let's say, I do my yoga. That's the time that I'm going to draw a picture. So find out what does it take to make that happen. And once you find out what's your passion, find out when it's not the bad timing, find out what does it take, just do it. Okay. So I guess it's about all the time I have. So the top 4 is more on the career side, how you will feel yourself valuable while you're building your career. The second part is about how to make a life, how to really make a life that makes you happy and keep you going. And lastly, I want to end with a couple of quotes I find online by various wonderful women, and I rephrase some of them a little bit. Is that I feel like the most difficult thing is the decision to act, the decision to actually just do it. But once you make your decision, you can just blast through it. Okay, sometimes it could be hard. Sometimes it's hard to get started. But once you blast through it, you'll see the light. And turn the little spark inside you. Maybe you have spark about music. Maybe you have a little spark about drawing, traveling. Turn it into a flame. Okay. So that's all I have for sharing with you all. And thank you for your time.